Hey everyone, I'm Sean Deveney here with Steve Bulpett, our NBA insider for Heavy.com. We're taking a look at sort of what's next for the Celtics. NBA Finals run, got to Game 6 before they finally lost that series to Golden State. Certainly with two stars, 24 and 25 years old, the hope is that the Celtics will be making some return trips to the NBA Finals. We'll talk about what might be next for them. Right now, they've got the draft. They've got the number 53 pick, which not likely to produce very much, but that draft is coming up on Thursday. Probably something that they could do in free agency or by a trade. Steve, welcome. What do you think of what you saw from the Celtics here in the playoffs? And then we'll talk about what they might need.
Well, what you saw were two different teams. And what you have to decide is which is real. And I think that kind of folds into what they need in a way. Clearly, toward the end, Inma Udoka wasn't comfortable with the bench. And I think if you're Brad Stevens, you have to decide whether that's an Inma Udoka issue, right, or whether that's an issue of the players themselves. We wrote before Game 6, before the last game they played, that Peyton Pritchard's minutes have been cut down to 8.8 a game, and that his shots were cut in half down to 2 point something. And, shooters can't be like that. You have to make sure you get your touches. You have to be able to get in rhythm. You can't be worried that if you miss a shot, you're going to get pulled. And, even the most confident shooters are going to have pause to a degree. So, and you and I have talked about this a lot in the past, that teams have to nurture shooters. So, if they are not going to do that, if that's going to be a blind spot that with Inma that Brad Stevens is okay with, then it is incumbent on Brad Stevens to get Inma Udoka a veteran shooter that Inma will trust.
Yeah, it does seem like they're not willing, or at least Inma wasn't willing to, give some chances to the younger guys, develop some players throughout the season, even if it might cost you a win here or there. He seemed to really focus on treating every game like they've got to win, and without the big picture in mind. And I think you're right. It's well, which is it? Is there enough talent on that bench that if it were developed, it could be good, or is it a fact that there just isn't enough there, that they do need more? Assuming that they at the very least need at least one or two more players, what do you think they should be looking? You mentioned a veteran shooter. Is there anything else that you think that they should be looking at?
Well, there's a lot of talk about them needing another big. Daniel Tice, I think, is serviceable in that role. But you've got to look at who's going to get minutes. It's okay to play guys to go after wins every night. That's fine, but you've got to see what gets you there in the long run. I think if you're looking for someone out there, if you could find the modern version of, we're talking wing scorer, excuse me. If you could find a modern version of a Jamal Crawford, that would be perfect. Some guy like that could come in. But I just don't see, without just a change in philosophy, how things get fixed. They're still going to win a bunch of games. They'll still be a contender. They'll still be there in the playoffs. But what will they have left? You looked at the kind of minutes that Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown played all along. And the other part we got to factor into this, Sean, is were Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, even Grant Williams, as the finals went along, were they not effective because they just weren't good enough? Or were they not effective because the Celtics didn't run their offense properly, because Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, and others were committing these unconscionable turnovers? They're going up in the air to make a pass before they know where the pass is going, kind of thing. So, were they bad because they were bad, or were they bad because they didn't get opportunity, or were they bad because the team wasn't running its offense? And, that's and all those. So those are three possibilities, and two of them are not their own fault.
Yeah. And in terms of what they could actually bring in, I wonder, on the free agent market, it's not a great free agent year, which is okay because they don't have, a ton of money to spend. We'll see what they do with the traded player exception. That's going to be pretty limited in terms of what they can do. They can't do a sign and trade with that just because it'll hard cap them, all the CBA details and the accounting stuff. So they're going to be limited with that, and they're just not going to have a whole lot of money to spend. So it'd be good if they could get somebody who was in a spot in his career where he needs kind of a reboot. Look at what Otto Porter Jr. did for Golden State is a good example, where you can pay a veteran minimum, but he just wants to be on a winner and try to boost his value back up. I think Gary Harris from Orlando is a good possibility. A guy who can shoot and defend, but has really kind of hit a roadblock in his career with injuries and things like that. That kind of guy who you can take a flyer on. TJ Warren is another possibility who was the subject of some discussion back with the Gordon Hayward stuff a couple of years ago. So I think if they can find somebody like that, because they're going to have to get a bargain. I mean, they're not going to be able to spend much money, but they're in a position. That's what a trip to the finals will get you, though, is that you can sign those guys that you weren't able to sign when you were getting eliminated in the first round.
Yeah, look, there are possibilities, and if a good one presents itself, look, the best trades, the best deals that you ever make are when someone else does something stupid for you, and make 1,000 phone calls and see if anything breaks. If 2 or 3 come through out of those 1,000, you've got a terrible batting average, but you're a stinking genius.
Yeah.
So you got to do all that stuff. If I'm Boston, what I'm doing is I'm committing to playing guys. Okay, I'm going to get Tatum's minutes down. I'm going to get Jalen Brown's minutes down, and I'm going to play Peyton Pritchard. I'm going to play Aaron Nesmith, who may still be retrievable at this point, because he's a guy that even if a shot's not working, he's still giving you something defensively. He's still hustling. He's still playing. He's not just like, oh, I'll shoot and other end of the court, I'm just going to stand there. You've got to see what you've got in these guys, and it's almost like in baseball. Even if they're not playing as well as you want them to, they're eating innings. And you look over the course of the year, and how many more minutes did Tatum and Brown play than other guys that they were dealing with in the final? So was part of their getting flustered, was part of their lack of poise, as a team in the finals because of, mental fatigue. It shouldn't be physical at that point. Their mental should be able to overcome that. But, having guys like Pritchard and Nesmith that you can throw in, and if it's working, you can keep them going. You can go to the other if one's not working. But having those kind of shooters that can spread the floor, to throw in like an Otto Porter, just in terms of the shooting, if it's working, great. If not, you've at least spread the floor. If Aaron Nesmith is on the court or Peyton Pritchard, and they're on the wing, or they're out by the 3-point line, you've got to at least honor them. But the ball's got to move to get to them, obviously, which was a huge Celtic problem. But I think you've got players there, and you've got guys. You got a guy in Sam Hauser who's a shooter. Nesmith, Hauser, and even Peyton Pritchard. You have to believe if they were on the Miami Heat, they would be getting opportunity. They would be getting nurtured.
Yeah, and you think of, obviously with the Heat, Max Strus, who the Celtics had, and let go amid Taco Mania, it's kind of Taco or Max, and I don't think
that was more Javonte Green. that
And
they
Devontae Green, yeah.
that
Well,
was
they made the move, as I recall, they made the move to Max Strus was on the two-way,
right.
and they made him a full contract. So Taco took the two-way, and then they wind up cutting Max Strus. But I mean, it's Max Strus. I think Garrison Matthews could wind up becoming a player as well that they kind of regret letting go. But yeah, they've got to, you've got to find sort of that diamond in the rough that you're paying $900,000 and can give you minutes. And it just seemed like those kind of guys haven't gotten much of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, the players they're looking for, they're players that they already have. They're players that other teams took and gave opportunities to. Max Strus is the biggest example because he was already here. He was already with them. It's what you do with guys. And look, Inma Udoka got better as the season went along as a coach. I expect him to be better as a head coach in the second year than he was in the first. And there was a lot of good things about what he did and how he ran things. But everyone's got to improve. You don't go into that situation and have the team and have the opportunity you did and have it frittered away and not realize, hey, everybody needs to look in mirrors here.
Yeah, it's a good point because, I think of when I watched Jason Kidd coach in Brooklyn and then even again in Milwaukee, I thought, why is this guy a head coach? I mean, just everything he seemed to do just wasn't working. And then you watch him in Dallas and it's clear that he's become a better coach. And you forget that, a guy's not going to walk in as a head coach and be a finished product. The second he moves those 12 inches from the assistant's chair to the head coaching chair, and that's certainly what you have to hope for with Inma.
Yeah, and look, if I'm Brad, I'm kind of steamed a little bit because you wanted Derek White, and you gave up Josh Richardson, who can play, who is a good basketball player, and you gave up a first-round pick and a pick swap potentially. And, wait a minute. And now you're not going to, use him the way that, that you've got to be able to justify that and, to give up what you did. And again, Josh Richardson is a good player. Josh Richardson, you'd say, hey, he could help this team right now.
Yeah. And considering what you give up, you've got to make sure that Derek White is that much better than Josh Richardson. Is he a first round pick?
That was a question. I mean, look, you could say that they were comparable defensively and that Josh Richardson's a better shooter. Okay, but you justify it by saying, okay, he's the guy you want. If he's the person you identify, Derek White, as someone that's going to be in your rotation, is going to help you, all those things, fine. We'll overspend for that. But then to have the situation and to lose trust in him or have him be ineffective because you can't get the whole team to play the simple passing game and not trying to, make spectacular plays, it didn't work ultimately. Yeah. And it needs to, not saying it can't work, but you've got to take steps and it needs to work better.
Yeah. There's a couple guys who are extension possibilities for the Celtics. Jalen Brown is one. I don't think that'll happen just because he can make more money by waiting. Doesn't need to make the deal right now. A little different situation than when he got his first extension, where he hadn't really proven much. I think at this point, with all-star under his belt and the way that he's played, he's proven enough to where he can sit back and wait and maybe take the bigger money. Is that what you expect to happen with him?
Yeah, I fully expect that Jalen Brown is going to keep his options open as best he can. He has proven to people around the league that he is a major player, and there are teams that would love to get their hands on him, and I'm pretty sure Jalen knows that.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him to tie himself down in any way. Unless it was frustrating for him, to look at what happened. And I don't expect him to tie himself down unless they come in with the Godfather offer that he can't refuse.
Right. And how about Grant Williams? That's kind of a more interesting case. Obviously carved out a really, really good role with this team and filled it very well. He's got his rookie contract, so he's extension eligible. I think they'll try to work with something. His agent's Bill Duffy, who has a history of wanting to get his rookie contract guys secured in a deal. I think when you look at the deal that Robert Williams got, which was 4 and 48, and that was with all the injury history. That was before he had the great year this year. I can imagine Grant Williams getting something in that neighborhood, and that being good for both sides. I don't know. What do you think on Grant Williams and the extension possibility there?
I think the Celtics will try to do something. Obviously, they need to lock up a guy like that because he got Ime's trust. He played well in his role, and he's also a guy that can play as a semi-big when they go small, which is a strange combination of words. But
yeah.
But the question there is, what does Grant Williams think his value is? And is he happy here in this role, or does he think he can have a bigger role somewhere else? That I think he should be kind of happy with it.
Right.
Finding a fit is one of the most important things in the NBA.
Yeah. If you were to drop Grant onto Houston or Detroit, I think it would be a little bit of a struggle for him. On a bad team.
Yeah. So you've got to he's got to look at things from a bunch of different ways, but I would fully expect the Celtics to offer him a reasonable extension, and whatever. And if he accepts it, it's going to be in the range. That he's going to be in good shape financially, and still have plenty of time. He'll still be able to get another bite at the apple when that deal is over.
Yeah. Right. This is sort of the placeholder deal until the next deal. One other thing, Steve, Mark Stein brought this up, and he portrayed it as a pretty long shot. I think you'd agree about old friend Danny Ainge possibly poaching Brad Stevens to go coach the Utah Jazz. No real chance there. What do you think?
I spoke with Brad some toward the end of the year, but I don't know. I got a feeling he's kind of committed to this situation. The part that Brad liked about coaching was when the season was over, his season was kind of over, and he got to do the family thing more. And they went and took some great trips. They went and saw the Women's World Cup in France and all this stuff. And, but during the year, you were kind of, you were like every minute you were in it, and so now he's got the different thing where he's had a more manageable schedule throughout the season, but the off season is here, and he's still, now he's really got to turn it into high gear, and his phone's going to ring all the time. So, I'm not sure which he prefers, but he seems to be okay with this. He's taken the route where he's had a lot less contact with the Boston media than Ainge did. So he's kind of, kept his work-life balance in a good place, which, what's important to him, And here's the thing too, let's look at it from Brad Stevens' standpoint, leaving that stuff aside. That you're going to be, if you decide to get back into the coaching game, you're going to have opportunities whenever you want, wherever you want, whether it's professional, certainly college, he'd have his pick of top jobs. So do you want to get involved with the Utah Jazz, which is a team that has shown well during the regular season, but has really stumbled badly in the playoffs and is looking at some major reconstruction potentially? Do you want to be part of that? Or do you want to if you're going to get back into coaching, make it someplace where you can come in and, kind of like Steve Kerr did, turning down the Knicks, going to Golden State.
Yeah. I mean, when Brad came to Boston, 2013, he did that though, right? I mean, he took a team that had just been deconstructed, as the Jazz might be, and really did a really good job getting them competitive right away with the pieces that he had on hand.
Well, when he came there,
that's not to say he wants to do that all over again, of course.
Well, no, I mean, when he came there, they had just said they just put up the scaffolding. They hadn't rebuilt anything yet. They made the trade with Brooklyn. Doc said, "I want out. I don't want to do this." But he had to live through some, the early Rondo, end of Rondo situation. And they didn't get good until a year and a half or so later, when they made the deal for Isaiah Thomas, and and he made them kick their butt into being a team. That was a while later, actually. So
2016 was that? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, so that's that's significantly later. So 2+. So does he want to do that, or does he want to be in Utah? All these things factor in, because he's a guy who has choices, and he's at a spot now where this team, if the Celtics just run it back, they'd still be expected to contend for the championship.
Sure.
Okay, it's not like they need oh damn, these are these gaping holes they must fix. I agree with your first part. Danny Ainge may want to reach out to Brad, but I'm not sure how interested Brad would be, or how interested he should be with that.
Yeah. All right, Steve, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Thank you all for checking this out. Again, heavy.com. You can check out Steve's writing and a little bit of what I call writing too. So